Today, the first refugees from the Tampa are coming home. They were detained by Australia on the Pacific island of Nauru for more than a year. 5 men who have given up their hopes for asylum. They're returning with mixed feelings.
What's it feel like to be home? They are coming home to a very uncertain future as Afghanistan struggles to cope with the flood of returning refugees. But for these men, it's their treatment by Australia that rankles the most. Mohammed Hussein Ahmadi reluctantly agreed to speak to Dateline, but only for the briefest exchange. Afghanistan's Foreign Minister backs up the men's rebuke to Australia.
While we are grateful for the hospitality shown in other cases, in these specific cases, I think there is room for improvement. There is a need for focus, and certainly, and obviously, those people which have returned recently, they are very angry about it. I think this is a humanitarian issue which has to be looked at on humanitarian. On the basis of humanitarian issues in international standards and beyond domestic politics.
But it's from border camps with neighbours Pakistan and Iran that the vast majority of returning Afghans are coming home. Most have not set foot in their homeland since the day they fled as the Taliban advanced 5 years ago. Over 5 million Afghans have been displaced over the past 5 years. But that human tide has now turned around, and almost 2 million will have returned by the end of the year.
So a huge number of people came yesterday, but some of the family, even we couldn't reach them, just more than 200 families.
The logistical difficulties of coping with the influx are made much worse by the unexpected speed of the return. The UN and Afghan authorities predicted 600,000 people would make the journey home this year. They now admit they got it wrong, very wrong.
Yes, the number which we were expecting was 600,000 for this year, but it is almost 2 million. It will be 2 million for this year.
In November 2001, when the massive bombing campaign in Afghanistan ended, there were about 5 million Afghans who lived outside their homes, either abroad or displaced within the country. So the massive displacement of Afghans, which was probably at that time the biggest single displacement phenomenon in the world, has turned into a massive return, probably the biggest return of people to their homes in many years in the world.
And that's left Afghanistan's interim government with a huge and potentially destabilising dilemma.
From one side, it is the sign of stability, and it's a good news. The people have the confidence over the situation, over the circumstances, as well as the government. But from the other side, we have to facilitate their stay here. There, I think we are far from being able to deal with this. But I hope that this will not turn into a crisis.
Like more than 1 million others, Nasruddin, his wife Bibe and their 3 children have spent years eking out a miserable existence inside refugee camps in neighbouring Pakistan. Their 5-year-old son Fridoon was born there. What little they have matches their expectations of what they will find on their return home. At the main processing centre for returnees on the outskirts of the capital, Nasruddin lines up for cash assistance. Each person returning receives $20 in emergency aid. But aid supplies are running low. Food assistance has been halved, winter is approaching, and there's no longer money for tents or warm clothing.
The 3 packages changed to 2 package today. Also it changed, it decreased. The food, non-food item decreased, but the cash is still the same.
Nasruddin and his family are returning to a land destroyed. The cost of more than 23 years of war, a nation reduced to little more than rubble. After 3 days on the road, Nasruddin and his family are almost home. But after what he's already seen, he knows what to expect. Over the past few months, the population of Karabakh, north of the capital Kabul, has doubled. Nasruddin finds what's left of his family home has been taken over in his absence. Homeless squatters have moved in.
ما به خوش شدیم که مقصد اداره خانه شده. یعنی یک چوبی مثلا یک چیزی که مونده بود اونجا باقی امیر که از دست رازی نکرده برش. و اینال تا وقتی که ما خودم پس آمدم پس اینال در خانه خود میره و ما باز بخیر کار شروع میکنم. یک مزدور کاری مثلا یک کسی میره و میه صرف ما خاطر انتظار از این نیستم که در خاطر سیاست رایزی که پشو پیشو کده.
The Shimali Valley was once considered the garden of Afghanistan. It had an international reputation for the fine sultana grapes it produced and exported. But as the Taliban attempted to extend its influence, the village of Karabakh was fiercely fought over and much of it destroyed.
یا خود یک جایی بود که کدام اجنودا 15 رقم و یک تنها انگور داره این منطقه ما مردم. یعنی یک انگور 10 رقم است. صحیح نه یک درخت 5-6 رقم نام داره. تو یک حسابی بود که یعنی از طرف انگور 10 رقم گفتم تا از طرف تنها توت درخت توت ما مردم بگیم 5 رقم 6 رقم توت ما مردم بود. و دیگه این گل گلزار که مثال در هر باغ میتونه آمدی.
But that time of splendour now seems consigned to a very different period in history. For so many Afghans, life here now revolves around meeting the most basic of human needs, of water, food and shelter.
یعنی آوازی که فاف یک اندازه ملک ما مردم میکرد. مگم تا وقتی که اینمی طالبا آمد اما خشکی پیدا شد هم کاریزای ما مردم ویران کرد خراب کرد که از دایسه نیم سو نیمه
At the start of this year, international donors met in Tokyo and pledged almost $10 billion to Afghanistan to be doled out over 5 years. But the stark reality is that very little of that money has so far made it here. And that has the potential to spark a new crisis.
The reality is that this could all go horribly wrong, couldn't it?
It certainly could if development resources continue to trickle in as slowly as they have in the past few months, in spite of the pledges made at the Tokyo conference 7-8 months ago.
For a nation that has for decades been ruled at the end of a gun, waiting too long for international assistance could threaten the stability of the new government.
I think the humanitarian crisis does pose a serious danger to Afghanistan's ability to recoup from the 24 years of conflict that has devastated the country.
So when people sit back and say, you know, we're not going to put money in until we know that Afghanistan is stable, is there a real danger that waiting for stability is just going to lead to instability?
Oh, absolutely. I think the semblance of stability that we see it seems from the outside that it's the calm before the storm, because Kabul is this heaven of stability that it seems, but if you step just outside Kabul, things seem to be falling apart.
But even in Kabul, the people have long known when it is time to flee. For most of this city's residents have packed up and fled time and time again as battle lines have waxed and waned. 35-year-old Marjan has spent most of her adult life on the run, and for most of the past 5 years in a succession of refugee camps across the border in Pakistan. Over the years, each homecoming to her city of birth has been a result of death.
یک برادرم شهید شد به خاطر مرده از او آمدیم او را دفن و ترا کردیم بعدا دیگه برادرم شهید شد به خاطر از او آمدیم دیگه که شوهر خودم در شمالی شهید شد به خاطر از او آمدیم که بسیار حالت بد دیدیم پس رفتیم تو نتونستیم تحمل کنیم اینجا.
Now she's returned with all that remains of her family, her 3 daughters and her father-in-law. This time she hopes it will be for good, but she sums up her future with this popular Afghan saying.
اگر آدم ناراحتی رو نبینه راحت هیچ وقت نمیبینه. همین حالت ما قبول داریم میگیم از ملک پاکستان از وطنای.
When Marjan arrived home 3 months ago, she had nowhere to go.
باز ما که آمدیم اینجا بسیار جاها را گشتیم خانه نیافتیم. باز این همینجا یک آدم برای ما رز داد که این همینجا فعلا دیگه این شرکت عمومی برق افغانستان است. کلش نابود شده تکه تکه شده. باز همینجا ما آمدیم همراه ماجرای دیگه فعلا 3 مشت که همینجا زندگی میکنیم. دمی شرکت برق.
More than 20 families have since taken up residence in this bombed-out building. These homeless people know they can expect little help to survive their first winter because aid agencies are giving first priority to property owners to allow them to rebuild quickly. But Marjan's 10-year-old daughter Hushbu has more immediate concerns of getting to school on time. Hushbu knows what she wants. She has a dream. Amidst the rubble, children are being given a chance to learn.
Once denied an education, as many girls as boys have enrolled in this school. But school here is likely to end almost as soon as it has begun. Holding classes in these conditions, once the freezing depth of winter sets in, has been ruled out. The UN admits it's fighting what appears to be a losing battle on many fronts.
Well, like anybody else, an Afghan returning home will require two things. One is to have access to the basic services, education, health, potable water, food, housing and so forth. And second, have access to jobs to survive. And what we are really worried about is that unless massive, and I repeat massive, developmental and reconstruction programs begin in this country, this huge return, which is a very positive development, may turn into a problematic situation.
This is the Afghanistan that the first returnees from Nauru are about to discover. 2 days after he came home to his village from Nauru, 28-year-old Ghulam Hazrat Mohammadi agreed to speak with Dateline. Hazrat, as he prefers to be known, admitted the group's initial reluctance to talk was in reaction to how they had been treated by the Australian government.
بخاطر که دولت استرالیا ظلم ستم سر ما کرد. درست است بگو مردم استرالیا واقعا مردم خوب است. ولی جانور بگو بخاطر که ما را قربانی سیاست‌های خود کرد. 1 سال در کمپ تاپساید در نارو بگو ما را بندی کرد که واقعا با بسیار مشکلات زیاد اونجا مردم تحمل کرد. ولی تحمل ما دیگه صبر و حوصله ما خلاص شده بود. اصلا بگو اصلا از استرالیا پشیمان شدیم که چرا آمدیم ما. واقعا یکی مثلا قد بشر دوست نام خودم میگرفت واقعا ما که دیدیم اصلا بشر دوست نیست دولت استرالیا.
Hazrat says he decided to return home for one reason. He felt it was the only way to escape his prison island.
بله دیگه خب فهمیده بودم که تا باز دادن هیچ راهی نداره به غیر برگشت.
The United Nations is concerned that Australian authorities may not have passed on true and accurate information about the situation in Afghanistan.
People who are hosted in any country in difficult conditions, there will be an added incentive to return. But nevertheless, I think we should provide them this information, irrespective of the motivation of their decision to return. I think it is our duty, and I think it is something that is feasible, so we would like to do that.
Did this happen in the case of the first people who have come back from Nauru?
Evidently it was not sufficiently done, because when they arrived here and they went back to their areas, not all of them, but some of them complained that they did not know about how bad the conditions were in those areas. Therefore, I think this information was not adequate.
Kabul has swelled from the shell of a city it once was. Traffic jams are now as common as the daily search for water. The water shortage caused by years of drought has city authorities worried. In a nation where stability has been the exception rather than the rule, water, or the lack of it, is considered a potential cracking point.
It's very good to see them return. It's good to see a population increase in a city like this, but obviously it does have a breaking point. We're keeping a very close eye to make sure that all the standard services, the water, sanitation, roads and education and so on, is sort of up to what we expect.
The UN is now so concerned about the pace of return, the approaching winter and its lack of funds that it's considering making a monumental decision of cutting assistance to refugees in an attempt to persuade them not to return until after winter.
So we're debating on a lot whether we should at some stage stop assisting these returns, stop giving them transport assistance and other forms of support, because we cannot guarantee that they will have sufficient time, for example, to rebuild their homes before winter sets in and makes it impossible.
The UN, UNHCR, is saying that it's actually thinking at the moment of saying to returnees, stop, don't come back. Is that fair? Should they be doing that?
It is important to send out these signals both to the international community and to the people who are returning that things are not as rosy as they look from outside. And once winter comes in and there's massive problems of accessibility for these aid agencies to even make it to the people who need assistance and help. So I think it's probably a desperate but fair call in that sense.
American-led forces have, at least for now, ended decades of civil war and finally given Afghanistan the chance to become a peaceful country. But whether that happens still hangs in the balance. Unless the international community commits enough resources to settle the returnees quickly and rebuild this nation's shattered infrastructure, Afghanistan's tenuous grip on peace and stability may not survive the coming winter.